Hey guys, welcome to the 120th, that's right, 120 editions as of right now, of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. And today, the title says it best. I'm surprised I never talked about her, but we're going to talk about, and I got to give credit to Disney Dan, or Disney Store Dan, which is basically Disney and history for short. So Distory Dan, if you will, Distory Dan, for a video he did not that long ago, where he talked about the evolution of this character, Clarabelle Cow. And believe it or not, Clarabelle has been around as long as Mickey and Minnie, which means basically when Mickey and Minnie celebrate recently celebrated their 90th birthday together, mostly focused on Mickey more so than Minnie. Clarabelle also celebrated 90 years, and so did Horse Color. But we're not here to talk about any of them. We're here to talk about Clarabelle. And Clarabelle has appeared in a lot of shorts since 1928. Although she's one of those characters that basically, according to her filmography, kind of disappeared for a while. I mean, not entirely, but she disappeared for quite some time. I mean, she originally started in 1928, and then, her appearances dried up until about 1983. On screen, that is, when she appeared in Mickey's Christmas Carol, dancing with Horse in the first ghost visit to Scrooge when they go to the past. Then, of course, she appears, depending on what you kind of look at as Clarabelle, she appears in the crowd scene at the end and doing that little cow, a crowd of cows, if you will, that are auditioning and all that, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. She does appear, apparently, in Roller Coaster Rabbit, which is a Roger Rabbit short. Then she appears in Bonkers, in the Stork Exchange, in the Rubber Room, and Casabonkers, or the Rubber Room song, which is part of Casabonkers, those two episodes. Then she, of course, appears in The Prince and the Pauper, and then she made a regular return in 2001 with Disney's House of Mouse. She was part of Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, the Three Musketeers, the movie, their adaptation of it. And then she went on to be part of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. She was part of Get a Horse, which was kind of like a throwback to the classics, if you will. Then she was part of the Mickey Mouse show, I think. Yeah, it's the new Mickey Mouse show, the new Mickey Mouse shorts that are basically a blend of the modern aesthetics that we're all used to seeing, but with the classic, more modern, updated version of the classic 20s and 30s looks, if you will, retro looks. And then she's part of Mickey Mouse's Mixed Up Adventures. She's part of that, and she's part of Mickey Mouse in the Road Roasters, from what I understand. They just don't got that listed here. And she makes a cameo in Ralph Breaks the Internet. So yeah, she's been around a lot, but as far as like the shorts go and everything, she's appeared in 35 shorts from 1928 to 42. And then basically almost 41 years later is when she started to make a reappearance and everything. It wouldn't be really until, like I said, things like, Bonkers, Prince and the Pauper and all that she'd really start to get back into the limelight. And then House of Mouse came around and it's like, boom, here she is. And what was interesting about her really getting that resurrection, if you will, I guess you could say that rejuvenation, if you will, is one of the main reasons she got to be put back into the spotlight was as we entered into the new century and all that. Basically, Disney, if you will, wanted to basically equal out a lot of things, with their characters. Like, with Mickey Mouse works, that's really where it started with her. and and they don't have that listed here either. I'm kind of surprised by that. But yeah, Mickey's Mouse Works, and then House of Mouse is where it really all started, because the one thing I noticed was, especially with Mickey's Mouse, especially not just with Mouse Works, but with House of Mouse, when they brought Clarabelle back in, it was to equal out the fact that, okay, Donald, Daisy has Donald, Minnie has Mickey, but who does Goofy have? Goofy, nobody has Goofy, right? So they decided, okay, who could we get? And the seeds were already planted the season in the series prior to that, which was Mouseworks, and that's when we got pretty much the answer of, okay, it's Clarabelle Cow. And they did this in a Valentine's Day related episode where Goofy had a secret admirer, but nobody guessed who it was, but the hints were being thrown out there. You could clearly see who it probably was just by some of the hints. And at the end of the episode, he basically tells the girls, being Daisy and Minnie, who are trying to, help him out and everything, try to see if he'll have a Valentine, see if he'll get somebody, because they feel sorry for him. And then when he reveals who he found out who's the secret admirer, he points to Clarabelle, and it surprises Minnie. She's like, Clarabelle? And Daisy's like, well, better than a hat rack, she's really made a comeback in the past, I would say, 20 years. And again, I think it's because of the fact that, just like with any studios, we look at Jellystone and everybody wonders why some, male characters were gender swapped and all that. And basically what it is and what it was is the fact that a lot of studios, animation studios, always feel, especially nowadays, that there's not enough female representation. So with Clarabelle, and this again goes back 20 years, if not more so, decades, if you will, but more recently, in the past 20, 25 years, 30 years, a lot of studios, animation-wise, have felt that, there's not been enough female representation, especially when you have basically the female equivalents of the male characters, like Mickey with Minnie, or Minnie with Mickey, and Daisy with Donald. There was never who does Goofy have? And we know in some of the shorts he had a wife, but we never saw her. So the question was, who did he have? And yeah, they tried to pair him up with different female love interests, like Sylvia, an extremely Goofy movie and stuff. But again, who did he have? He didn't really have anybody. And they went back to one of the main sources of keeping the characters alive and in the media's eye, and that was the comic books. Because comic books do more with characters than animation does at times. And in the Super Goof comics, basically the Goofy comics, Clarabelle was always looked at as Goofy's love interest, as his girlfriend. So they basically said, okay, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. Take inspiration from it and bring it onto film, or onto the screen, animation-wise and all that. And that's what they did. That is what they did. With Clarabelle, and making her the equal to Goofy, basically making her, his girlfriend. That's, now when, they ever decide, okay, we're going to do an episode where there's a triple date and everything, and you're wondering who's Goofy's date, you'll find out that it's Clarabelle. Simple as that. Because she kind of fills the void of Goofy, in a sense, especially the way she's portrayed in the new Mickey Mouse shorts and all that, as well. But overall, she's really one of those characters that, became noticed, became popular when she first started on film and on screen and all that, but over time became obscured, as far as film and, screen, as far as animation, films, television, and all that's concerned. She became obscured. And it wouldn't be until, with the comics and all that, and even the theme parks at times, that she would be kept alive. She would be kept alive. In fact, the Goofy parade they did, basically, which was called The World According to Goofy, had her as Cleopatra, thus continuing that connection between the two. And then recently, she really got an update because a lot of the characters got those animatronic, interactive updates, which, again, as I mentioned before in the video, and Distorian Dan mentioned as well that they took out recently to where you only see them in, parades and in shows and all that, and not interacting with them, personally. She pretty much got the same kind of treatment. She finally got that treatment as well, and we saw that in the Christmas show they did back in 2019, which they still continue to do, I think, seasonally with a few change-ups here and there. And then that design pretty much influenced the redesign of her theme park, meet and greet character all throughout the parks around the world. So yeah, she's made a huge renaissance comeback, if you will, as far as characters are concerned. She really has. And again, I think it's because of the fact that no matter how you feel about it, there's always been this belief that there's not been enough female representation in Disney cartoons, especially when it comes to like Disney, the Disney trio of Mickey, Donald, and Goofy being with the girls, being with the girls, Daisy and Minnie, and you never had a female counterpart from Goofy, and to Clarabelle. There you go. Like I said, she's been, making a, kind of a big comeback, Renaissance-wise, with the various appearances, and, who knows what the future will hold for the character. But I like it. I like the fact that we're getting more of her. I'll be honest, as a kid watching the cartoons at times, it's like, I always felt like there was something missing. And now I kind of know what that, that piece that was missing when you'd watch Mickey and Minnie cartoons, or Mickey cartoons with him, Donald and Goofy and Daisy and Minnie. You knew there was something missing, but you didn't know what. And now we see what it is. And here's the thing. This whole thing with Goofy goes back into actually the 30s and all that, where it was teased a couple of times, even though pretty much she's been commonly paired with Horace. And that's pretty much been hinted at in the modern times as well. But overall, but even back then, with the small hints here and there, and even here in the more modern times, more so than anything, she's been paired with Goofy. And again, I think that's because, of the, kind of evening things out and giving more of that female representation in the shows or in the cartoons. So again, it's just great to see that. I would consider a missing piece of the puzzle back in there full time. The only question now is exactly, what are we going to get with her in the future? I'm hoping, honestly, we get some solo cartoons with her. Like, if they have to, not have to, but if they do indeed re-up for a couple more seasons, The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, which is basically a continuation of the Mickey Mouse shorts, but all new, if they re-up for another season, then I'd be totally cool with them, pulling out some Clarabelle shorts and focusing on her as a character, because, if she's basically the female equivalent of Goofy, who knows what wacky antics she can get into. I mean, a good example of the fact that she's kind of, been created to be similar to Goofy in a way is her appearance, when it's revealed, in the How to Be a Spy Goofy short, that she's the one that's been spying on Goofy because has a crush on him and everything. And she even has a kit similar to the kit that he got, but it was basically, the basically it's a counteractive kit of basically being able, basically the How to Catch a Man kit that she has is basically the counteraction to How to Be a Spy kit. Basically, I guess you could say covering all the bases, that needs to be covered, other that they know that the spy kit's going to make the person that's trying to use it, pull off and stuff. So, that's, basically like the first kind of like sign that she's similar to him. And then when you look at House of Mouse and her being like a gossip queen and acting a little goofy at times herself, but having a thing for Goofy, And then Three Musketeers, I mean, come on, seriously. You know, there's a lot of similarities, and I would not be surprised, you know, like I said, if they re-up for another season on The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, that we get some Clarabelle shorts focused on her, and she can get into a lot of wild, zany antics, and we'll see what happens if, you know, or not, we'll see what happens, but we'll see what kind of antics those are if that does happen. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to do it for the 120th edition of the Animated Girl Profile Confidentials. This one focusing on Clarabelle Cow. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. What are your thoughts on Clarabelle? Do you like the character? Do you want to see more of her in the future? Do you hope maybe Disney might, you know, if they re-up for another season of Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, that they might focus on her more so in solo cartoons? What are your thoughts? Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at my Teespring store, as well as check me out on patreon.com/bwrosas. Check me out at BW Rosas Discussion on all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora, as well as check me out on BW Rosas on Vimeo. So until next time, guys, thank you all for watching. And who's going to be the 121st? Who's going to be the 121st profiled animated female? You'll find out soon. But until next time, take care.